Welcome to the Olathe Spark Starters podcast, where it is our mission to inspire innovative ideas and empower educators to cannonball into personalized professional learning. We're your hosts, Jordan Billings, 7th grade social studies from Indian Trail Middle School,
and Ryan Stevens, 8th grade social studies at Summit Trail Middle School.
Our goals for the episode are to help listeners understand the importance of bringing your passion to work and flexing your creative muscle.
And this is where the title we have Making Learning Magical, and we have Marissa Carroll here on the show. Marissa, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, can you introduce yourself for everybody?
Yeah, I'm Marissa Carroll. I teach 8th grade math at Santa Fe Trail, and this is my second year teaching.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you here. I love this idea of learning magical. Tish Richmond's book is just like an amazing thing, so we like seeing how people can apply that. So how do you provide magical moments in the classroom?
I really feel like just having no fear of failure is what makes it really authentic and kind of bring that spark into what I'm doing every day is, my students know that I'm going to push it. Like, we're going to take risks. And then I feel like that brings in the magical moment of them feeling like they can do that as well. So it's kind of that safe space and, thinking outside of the box, being different than what maybe we perceive as the norm for a math class. I'm very passionate about, connecting it to something they know. So I feel like, first and foremost is not being afraid to fail in front of my students.
And I know that that's definitely a hard thing for a lot of us as teachers to get used to because, some of us have this image of, the teacher cannot be wrong and everything like that. And sometimes that fear can kind of shackle us to our desk and to the, we better give those kind of standard worksheets and, let's don't step out because what happens if you're wrong? Right. And I love that you're saying that, that's great. That could lead to some amazing moments and it could almost even let some kids shine a little bit, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
So, what are some simple steps that teachers can take to up their magical factor in the classroom? So again, those teachers that are shackled to their desk, really nervous about doing stuff, what can they do?
I feel like first and foremost, you have to set up your strong procedures. And I'm not saying be, super strict or super lax. It's really it works for you because everybody's procedures and, expectations for their classroom are going to be different. So I feel like though, no matter what you decide to set up for your procedures and your behavioral expectations, that it's clear, and that's really going to help you set up for taking those magical steps and kind of being able to push the boundaries and try new things. And I really feel like when students have a role and a connection to what you're doing, it doesn't matter if it's 2 + 2, if they can do 2 iPhones plus 2 iPhones, I don't know.
That's 4 iPhones.
Yeah, that's 4.
I have an iPhone.
See, connection made, done. Boom. So I feel like that's a huge, just step one is, have your procedure set so your students can feel that safe consistency, but then also, what do you do? What are you connected to? What do you know about?
Exciting to see what students will do when they're given that kind of freedom. I think sometimes we forget about, sometimes it's okay to let the leash go just a little bit and see where they'll go within kind of the confines of our rooms. So how do you flex your creative muscle? What inspires you to sprinkle some of that magic into the classroom?
I feel like definitely watching other teachers, and whether it's in person, via social media, online, I love watching what other teachers do, and I love that we get the opportunity in our building to watch what other teachers do, and it's a comfortable climate. So if I wanted to go in and watch the amazing Amy Hillman do what she does best, I get to go do that. And there's no boundary on that. So I feel like that's my first thing is oh, she did this or he did that. I love that. I'm going to twist it and make it my own. So that's the first thing where I start getting creative is what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing and let's go from there. And then other biggest thing I lean on is that social media piece is connecting with teachers outside of Kansas and outside of where I'm from and seeing what other people are doing. I follow plenty of teachers on Instagram that will post things that they do in 8th grade math or even have still 6th grade math teachers. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Let's spin it to where it works for our kids. So I really feel like when I'm just doing what I would normally do anyway, scrolling on social media, that's where I'm going to get my most creative thoughts is oh, I can do that too.
I love that. I know that we all have a lot of Twitter people that we follow, and it's amazing how you can just, it's like scrolling for inspiration.
Yeah.
Wow, did we just create something? Scrolling for
There
inspiration?
you go.
There it
I
is.
love it.
Perfect.
I
Nice.
love that. Yeah, I
Perfect.
mean, people talk about it. It's Twitter's not going to change your life. It's the people
Right.
you meet on Twitter that change the way you teach and the way you look at it. And you don't have to spend a bunch of money to go to some big conference or
No.
buy a whole bunch of books. A lot of them they will freely talk to you,
Yeah.
say, hey, this is what I do and this is how I make it work.
Yeah.
Oh, and how many of those people on Twitter have like the YouTube channels and stuff like that too? So, and all of a sudden, then you've got some video stuff that you're able to follow along.
Yeah.
So, how do you bring your passions to the classroom?
I have a really strong philosophy of how I want to teach. I feel like with how I kind of started in an alternate path. I didn't start teaching right out of college. And so I kind of took some time to explore what I wanted to do. I, met my husband, started my family, and it was when I became a para at Lathan North High School, which is where I went, but I became a para there, and I was like, what am I doing? I can teach this. Like, I can do this. So I kind of took a path back and got recertified, and I really feel like that whole path was like a huge light to what I believe in and what I feel should happen in a classroom, especially a math classroom. I remember when I had a student that I was working with at North say, "Oh, I just can't do this. I'm not good at math. I've never been good at math." And I'm like, you can be good at math. It has nothing to do with that. But it's how you visualize it and how you see it. And in that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, I have a passion for teaching. Not just math, but just for having those light bulb moments with those students. And I feel like that is like my sole foundation of what I bring to school every day. I'm not going to have an amazing day every day, but if I can bring that passion of, helping kids and putting them first, that's what I'm going to bring in first, no matter what.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just some amazing stuff. You mentioned a lot about social media here, and you kind of reiterated that a few times. So we always want to keep our toolbox full of research-based strategies. We got to be able to pull something out of there at any moment because we never know what's going to resonate with the kid or what we're going to need in an exact moment.
Yep.
So how do you fill your toolbox with some of that brain research strategies and that magic pixie dust that does the trick for you?
Definitely just looking for all different types of things. Dare I say the teachers pay teachers. I really don't look to go buy things. It's just kind of what are other people doing. And I want to say, people are doing, mystery finds here, or there's a breakout room, or, this is just a reflection on a video. Or then you have your typical black and white worksheet, which is very appropriate for some things. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like just being that having that vision of being a lifelong learner is what's going to fill your toolbox the most.
Right.
And you don't realize, even just in my short time of teaching, how many tools I have that I'm like, oh, I forgot I know how to do that. We have this symposium coming up tomorrow, and I'm going to the Kagan structures, and I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I had a really good intro into Kagan in my student teaching, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, I know how to do this, but I'm going to keep adding to that toolbox. It's still Kagan, but it's still a new tool that I'm going to be bringing in, or a refresher. So I really feel like that's what I'm going to do. I read a lot. Any book I can get my hands on, if I can win a free book, I'm doing it. Whether it has good reviews or not, that's what I'm doing. And then I'm definitely an online reader, like books online, vlogs online. Anytime I can get to learn something about education, whether I feel like it's good or bad, I want to learn it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love what you were kind of saying here about, the toolbox, this thought of like, you can add new tools to the toolbox. It doesn't necessarily mean that even some of the old ones you're not going to use anymore, but it's like so much better to have more tools and more options rather than like you open up your toolbox and you're like, I have a hammer.
Yeah.
That's a screw. What are we going to do? It's I love that.
And it doesn't have to be like super flashy. I feel like sometimes when we see a creative classroom, I am guilty of this. I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's too flashy. I can't do it, even though I'm kind of a flashy person. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be flashy to go into your toolbox. Like it could be something simple that has worked for 20 years. Use it. It could be something new that you just invented because it works for you. Use it. So I feel like that's a really important part of that toolbox. It doesn't matter what it is, just use it if it's best for kids.
I think that's a great lesson as we're headed into the symposium that you mentioned there. I feel like we ought to probably plug that tomorrow. That's good.
Yes.
That's going to be It's going to be huge. I know this will be out after the symposium's
Right.
already gone through, but hopefully you guys got a lot out of the symposium and
Agreed.
can smash some of those ideas together and merge some of those tools and make something even more impressive.
Right.
Yep. Add some tools to the toolbox.
Yes.
So if listeners want to learn more from you, where can they find you, online or otherwise?
Biggest thing is on Twitter at Mrs. Coach Carroll, MRS Coach Carroll, CARROLL. I'm not active all the time, but I feel like that's the easiest way to contact me right now, and connect, because there's teachers that I know all over Olathe District that I've never seen face to face, but we are Twitter people, so I feel like that's the best way.
Awesome.
All right. Well, hey, we always like to share the learning out and kind of pay it forward with other people. So who's somebody in the district who's been a big spark starter for you?
I really have two. Narrowing down to two was hard in general because I have so many people that have really been amazing in this career. And the first one is Jennifer Taggart. She is at Heritage Elementary. I was a student teacher with her. And now she is going to be a lifelong friend. And she just really instilled, because I was unsure of myself, like, is this really still what I want to do? I don't know if I am confident in this. And she was really the biggest spark for me, like, no, Marissa, you're fine. You can do this. I've seen you teach. You've got it. And then, obviously, Amy Hillman, who's amazing. I work with her at SFT right now. Obviously, just won, a big award for being up for the running of Kansas Teacher of the Year. She was a partner to Jeremy Pride, who I student taught with, and became a really good mentor for me, and now is a friend as well. And we are both on Team Grit this year. So go Team Grit. And she's just a huge person that will take my crazy ideas and say, let's do this. It'll work for you. She's a really huge motivator for what I do best, not what she necessarily does best. So I really appreciate the both of them for that.
That's awesome. Sounds like two great teachers to look in on.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well, Marissa, thank you so much for being on the show. This is amazing.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping that people are going to reach out to you and start making their classrooms magical.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So, all right. Well, I am Jordan Billings, 7th grade social studies teacher at Indian Trail Middle School.
I'm Ryan Stevens, 8th grade social studies teacher at Summit Trail Middle School.
As always, check out the most recent aim to nominate a Spark starter. There's a tab and a form to fill out where you can nominate somebody who's sparking innovation around you so that they can be recognized in the district. Until next time, keep sparking innovation.